If you're thinking about moving and not sure if you should hold on to your home as a rental or sell it, then this video is for you. You see, you're not alone. A lot of homeowners kind of stress over this decision because it's a big decision and you don't want to make a mistake. Because we've helped so many people through this decision, managing over 1,700 properties in Southern California, we have a simple decision-making framework that will help illuminate some things you never thought about and help you make a decision that ultimately is the right one for you. Oh, and stay to the end of the video where I'm going to give you a decision-making criteria hack from one of the world's leading investors that's absolutely changed my life, and it will help improve your life as well. So let's break it down. I'm Steve Welty, CEO of Good Life Property Management. If you get value from this video, please hit like and subscribe. Let's go. All right, so if you're trying to make this decision, you likely fall into two buckets. The first is you live in the house that you own and you're considering renting it out because you have to move. Or you own a rental property currently and you're wondering, should I sell it now or continue renting it out? So I'm gonna start with the first group. These are people that own a property and are wondering, should I rent this property out? I need to move, or should I just sell it? What this decision comes down for you all is usually I need the equity or I want the equity to buy another house. And that is totally understandable, right? It's like, hey, I have kids and I want a pool, or I want, to live in this other area and I can't get into that house without the equity from my house. First off, that's a financial decision, but there's a lot of psychology at play, which we'll get to a little bit later. It usually comes down to time. Like, hey, I need this house in 6 months or 1 year or some short time frame, and then you don't have a lot of options. Then you're usually like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna sell it. I really don't wanna sell it because I always envisioned owning this house, but I'm gonna sell it because, man, the quality of life, my happy wife, my kids playing in the pool, like I know maybe holding it as a rental, it becomes an asset. It might be great to own in 15 years, but I really need to get into this house. Okay, cool. But if you aren't in as big of a hurry and you have more time, some magical things can happen. Let's say you just bought a house, right? And you're like, hey, this house is great, but I might have a kid one day or 2 kids, or get a 3rd child, or move my mom in and I might need more space. I don't need it today, but in 5 years, I might choose to, leave. So now you have 5 years instead of 5 months to plan. People often underestimate what they can accomplish in a longer time period. So if you give yourself 5 years, right now you might not have the down payment for that house. But if you give yourself 5 years, you might be able to save up. Some people might say, hey, Steve, how am I gonna save up, for the down payment for that house? It's like, well, I don't know. How'd you save up for the down payment for this house? It's like you planned, you put this strategy together, maybe you worked an additional job, or you worked harder, or you worked smarter, or you cut expenses. The really interesting thing is that almost everyone regrets selling their home in Southern California if it's in a good area or like a small multifamily. Given enough time, 5, 10, 15 years, at some point you'll be cross-armed, looking out into the abyss, wondering, oh man, it'd be great to still own that thing. Man, that thing's worth 10 times what I sold it for. That's a very intriguing picture for most people. And so holding on to it, that's why the decision is tough. But the first recommendation I would give is extending the time frame, planning early, and it gives you more options because you can actually save up for that down payment. I think the big missed opportunity that I really want to just illuminate for everyone is that I think our culture just gets in this habit of like, oh yeah, like I sell this house to buy this next house. And the people that make really big wealth jumps over their lifespan and can just leave incredible amounts of wealth for their family and organizations they care about, they build assets, they collect assets. And so for the people that own a home they live in or considering renting it, congratulations, you're in a unique period of time in history where you likely have a super low mortgage rate. Rents are high and climbing in some cases. And over time, that debt gets paid down. The rent covers the mortgage even more. It starts to generate some cash flow, tax breaks, appreciation goes up because inflation is, going to be here to stay probably for a long time. And real estate is a good asset to hold in an inflationary environment. And so there's these few people I've seen in my career, more than a few, but these people I come across that just started collecting houses. Like they never sold a home they live in. It's like they bought this house, they rented it, bought another house, rented it. And over their life, now they have all these great rentals that are paid off in most cases. It's such a cool, exciting vision that's so simple to execute on. It's simple, but it's not easy, right? Like you still have to save up, work hard, steward your funds well to be able to do that. But it's just like a simple strategy that really complements like more traditional strategies of 401ks and other pensions, things like that. But the problem is most people just don't think that way, right? Because we're so conditioned to selling. We have sell this home, buy a bigger home, sell this home, buy a bigger home. First nugget I want to give you is just to challenge that, and just, I'm not saying it's right for you. It might be right to sell your home to buy another home. However, just to know that the opportunity out there is big if you can plan ahead of time, save that next down payment. And if you've got a quality asset, you're gonna wanna own that in 10, 15 years, trust me, versus selling it for a bigger house. Because at the end of the day, a bigger house is not an asset. It's a house you live in. It's a liability. It's something that requires your money, and it's not treated the same way as an investment property is from tax purposes and all that stuff. So the next thing to look at is, are you comfortable holding 2 mortgages, right? So you gotta do the financial analysis and figure out, okay, what's it gonna rent at? I have a great video on how to decide the rent for your property and reduce vacancy that we'll link to at the end of this video. And we also have a great rental price calculator that I go over in the video that we'll link to as well if you need help establishing what can my property rent for. We're also happy to do a custom analysis for you if you'd like that. And then you got to look at your expenses, right? Like insurance is way up right now, property insurance, property taxes, repairs. Factoring all those things in, a good property management company can run you through what those numbers might look like. And then you need to determine, do I have enough cash reserves for this property? So you need at least 3 months, if not 6 months, cash reserves on hand in your bank account for a rental property. So if you don't have that, I would say go ahead and sell that thing. Now let's talk more traditional financial returns. People that are very savvy investors that are looking at internal rate of return, IRR, return on equity, all these things, they're usually not anguishing over these discussions because they have a very clear why. It's like a financial why. I'm getting 5% here. I could take this money and put it at 8% here. I'm gonna go do that. And people like that don't need videos like this generally. But the question I ask my clients is, what are you gonna do with the money? Because oftentimes people are like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna sell it. And then it's like, okay, well, what are you gonna do with the money? Oh, I'm not sure, just gonna like hold on to it. Be intentional. Like what's the plan? Is it just to build cash reserves? Okay, great. The economy's kind of uncertain right now. Are you gonna put it in the stock market? Are you going to, what are you gonna do with it? And then I also want you to look at the financial performance of your property from an investor in appreciation markets. Now, one of my best clients once told me that he was studying under one of the top investor trainers, like real estate investor trainers of our time. And he said, that trainer said, you know who my best student I ever coached? He lived in Orange County, California. And when he says best, he means like the most successful, like made the most money in real estate investing. In Orange County, California, you know how expensive those properties are? Those aren't cash flowing properties. And that's what's funny about cash flow investors. They don't understand appreciation markets, and appreciation markets or don't understand cash flow markets. Traditionally, you look at a house, let's say in Orange County, and you're like, oh, it's negative $500 a month. That's a losing proposition. I'm gonna sell that asset. But you'll gladly put $500 a month away in a college savings account, or $500 a month into a 401k or a stock portfolio. And real estate has all these other advantages that you don't get with those traditional investing mediums. So let me walk you through this. So first, if we look at the cash flow, most people are negative. Like if you're breaking even on cash flow in Southern California, congratulations. Negative $3,000 a year on cash flow. Okay, great. That's a tax deductible expense. And let's say you're in a 33% tax bracket, state and federal. That's actually only $1,000 now expense, right? Because you wrote off the other $2,000, let's just say for rough numbers. All right, so you're down negative 1,000, right? The next thing you want to look at is amortization. So every month the tenant is paying off your mortgage, right? They're part of your mortgage payment. Let's just say $1,500 is a good average number on a typical house that goes towards principal. So the tenant's rent is paying down that principal. So $1,500 a month, let's say $18,000 a year. So now we're at $17,000 net positive. So then you have appreciation. Let's say on an average, $850,000 house at 6% historical appreciation, that's another $50,000 or so in appreciation. Yes, the market might go down some years, might go way up some years, but 6% is like historical long-term hold. So far, if you add all those up, that's $70,000. If you take $70,000, say your equity is $510,000, you divide $70,000 by $510,000, you get like a 13% return. And yeah, it's not a cash on cash return. You're not getting that money, but it's building up equity in the property. And what I didn't factor into this is also depreciation. So like additional tax write-offs you get through depreciation. and property management fees are a tax write-off. And so it's likely your Schedule A on your real estate taxes is going to show like a much deeper loss than $3,000 a month, but it's like a paper loss, like a phantom loss in a lot of cases, especially through depreciation. So when you factor all these things in, and with the added benefit of diversifying, it can be a lot better outlook financially than you might realize. All right, next for you homeowners who are thinking of renting your home, you have the capital gains tax exclusion. So for singles, it's $250,000. For married couples, it's $500,000 as of the shooting of this video. You don't pay capital gains tax on up to $500,000 of your proceeds if you're married. You have to live in the property at least 2 of the last 5 years. So what we tell clients is like, hey, you have at least 2 years, up to 3 years to rent the property, try it out, see if it's a good fit for your lifestyle, if it makes sense, before you need to decide to sell it. And so if you think you're going to be in an appreciating market in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe you try it out. If you think you're at the top of a market and maybe it's going to go down, then maybe you lean towards selling. Make sure you talk to your CPA about any tax related questions. Now, if you already own a rental property and you're considering renting or selling, Part 2 is going to be for you. So this is knowing the market. It's going to apply to both homeowners and people that already own a rental property. Is your property in a seller's market? Is it a good time to list? Is there a ton of competition? Nobody really knows the market, but it's better to at least use what data you have and what hunches you have to make a decision on if this is a good time to list the property. Are you in the holiday season? Is it going to be slower? Consult a real estate agent. We know a lot of great ones. We're happy to put you in touch with one. Also, talking to some management companies, like, are rental rates climbing? What have they done over the last 12, 24 months? What are they likely to do in the next 12 to 24 months? What's happening in your area? Are things going well? Are more businesses coming into town? Are people leaving the area? Not every home in Southern California makes sense to hold, right? It's like, you want to hold a property that's you're going to be proud to own in the next 10, 15, 20 years. And not every property in Southern California is a winner, right? It's got to make sense for the market. So assess whether you'll be proud to own this thing in 10, 15, 20 years. Because rental real estate is really a long-term play. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. If you know you're in a good area, that's going to weigh heavily towards this long-term owning rental real estate asset play. If you're kind of suspect on your area and it's declining, then maybe it makes more sense to sell now. All right, number 3, and a big one, is the management plan. And this one really matters because to own rental real estate, you really need a good property manager. And honestly, there's not a ton of good ones out there. I've known a lot of management companies. I've worked with a lot of management companies. And traditionally, I'll just be honest, the industry, it's a tough industry because people don't charge enough. They kind of do the bare minimum. And so that's something we've really worked to try to change at Good Life and be like, hey, a different type of property management company, really improve the lives of our clients by making it easy to own rental property. But besides the shameless plug there, you got to have a manager you trust, because if you don't have a good manager, you're going to fail. Now you can self-manage, but in California, that's going to take staying up on laws, tuning into channels like these, following me on Instagram, signing up for newsletters, joining local associations like California Apartment Association or the Southern California Rental Housing Association. One of the great things about rental real estate is you can easily find a property manager to take care of it for you. Even with a property manager, there's still decisions that need to be made, but a good one can make it easy for you. And if you're curious about, well, what laws would I need to stay up with? Just look down at my channel, look at some of the videos we've done recently on new laws. There's no shortage of them. All right, number 4, and lastly, is what are the long-term goals for your property? So lastly, I would just tie everything together and decide, okay, knowing all this, like, what do I want, right? If I want to build a real estate portfolio, build long-term wealth through real estate, then I'm going to look very closely at making this property into a rental, running the numbers, leaning into it, giving it a shot. So tying it all together, it really just comes down to what you want. There's really no right answer. Like, do you want to build long-term wealth through real estate, or do you want to simplify your finances? Fast forward 10 years from now, will you want to own this house, or will you regret having sold it? Would you like to pass this down to your kids? When you pass on a property to family members, they get a stepped up basis, and all that depreciation you took and all of that tax write-off you took gets erased, and they get to kind of start over. So how I like to phrase it is, you can screw everything else up in your life financially. You can make the wrong bets on stocks, lose your job, but if somehow you can just keep one house in Southern California alive, and you can leave that to your kids and they'll be set for life. They'll have plenty of money to do whatever they need to do. And if you can't tell, I'm biased obviously to holding long-term rental real estate, not just because I'm a property manager, but because we need more rental homes for people in our community. And I've just seen the transformational wealth and opportunity it's provided a lot of our clients that have been doing this for decades. You're the cooler grandpa or grandma when you have a few rental houses. So who do you want to be Would your future self thank you? All right, so here's the bonus tip that I learned from famed investor, thought leader Naval Ravikant, and it's how to make decisions. So there's this great video where Naval goes into this. He says, having a mental model for decision making that applies accurately to every decision is very difficult because there's so many different types of decisions. But here's 3 decisions and how he thinks about how to make them for success. So if you have to decide whether to marry someone, whether to buy a house, whether to sell a house, take a new job in a new city, these are these big decisions that have like long-term implications. So Naval's first decision-making criteria says, don't make a decision if you're undecided. So this applies to big decisions. Should I marry this person? Should I take this job? Should I buy this house? We only see like usually 1 or 2 options or 3 options maybe. We're actually not aware of just the plethora and the unlimited nature of optionality. So for decisions that have a long-term impact that might influence you for years, you never want to make a decision unless you're fully bought in and you're like, yes, this is it. I'm going with this. I'm in. And maybe you can't be 100%, but you should be 90, 95%, because otherwise, I've heard it said another way that's more punchy. If it's not hell yes, it's no. And I think that's from Derek Sivers. And the reason that works is just we're not aware of the options. And so if we're not totally bought into one option, then we're probably not considering other options that we haven't considered. And so don't decide on a big decision unless you're fully invested and you feel sure about it. You can't be on the fence with a major decision. Take your time, look at other options, and then go when you're all in. The next decision-making criteria is, what if you're 50-50? Should I rent or sell? It might be a big decision. You could use the prior decision-making criteria, but let's just say it's like you're 50-50. It's not like weighing on you that heavily. Choose the decision with the short-term pain and long-term benefit, because our minds as humans are wired to avoid pain in the short term. You're usually going to be better off by taking the path that will lead to long-term prosperity versus avoiding the short-term pain. All right, my last bonus tip is from yours truly, and it's what scares you, do that. And it's something I've tried to live by. I have a bracelet that says it. It's just a reminder that almost everything worthwhile in life tends to live on the other side of fear. So if my heart says to do something, but I'm just feeling scared, that's my green light to move and do it. So whether you rent or sell, I wish you all the best, and I hope this video helped you make a better decision. Check out my video on how to price a rental property to maximize your profit. I'll see you in there.